Twinkle, twinkle, little star, It's alive!
Welcome to where the weird ones are.
Every time I speak, I want the truth to come out.
Powerful figures in Hollywood as well as powerful politicians who are in fact not human. They're reptiles or they're lizards or perhaps extraterrestrials.
I don't think it is a human. I think it's a Sasquatch.
Go ahead and run. Run home and cry to mama.
Let's get weird.
What's up, you fucking weirdos? Welcome to another episode of Where the Weird Ones Are. My name is Kevin, but you probably already knew that, and if you didn't, now you do. Today's episode is with Tim Vogel, one half of the Vogel brothers. Eric was unable to attend, but they will be back to tell us some more of their stories and get some of Eric's as well. Now, we talk about the Cobble Mountain Critter out in western Massachusetts, which is basically a Bigfoot entity. So, the name of the episode, Cobble Mountain Bigfoot. um, and yeah, Tim tells us a pretty intense story from when he was fishing with his brother, um, among other stories. So they started researching about 13 years. Um, but yeah, they do a lot of stuff for the community out in western Massachusetts. They have a festival dedicated to the Cobble Mountain Critter. And that is June 7th, I believe. If I am incorrect, Tim does state it in the episode. So, but with that being said, shout out to the sponsor, Bigfoot's Breath by Flavors of the Forest. It is raw garlic dust and it is amazing. It goes good on everything. They got a couple of other flavors. So to get yourself some, head on over to flavorsforest.com and scoop them up. Order yourself some. Tell them I sent you. Alrighty. Alrighty. Alright. Um, yeah, Nelson and Matt are great guys. You can also follow them at Flavors Forest on Instagram. If I didn't say Instagram, I feel like I said Instagram way too much. Um, but yeah, other than that, Floridian Fest is coming up right here in Sanford, Maine, May 17th. It's a Saturday, so come check it out. I believe $15 entry with a shit ton of vendors and whatnot. Um, I will have some shit. I'll have some hot sauce and all that stuff. But if you like today's episode, please like, follow, share, and subscribe. I know I say that all the time, but I would greatly appreciate if you did, if you're not already. And a rating and review would be fantastic, especially since the RSS feed has been switched. I lost a lot of the reviews that I did have. But if your catcher does not allow you to leave a review, please consider doing so on the website where the weird ones are, podcast.com. There you can get t-shirts, hot sauce, hats, a bunch of merchandise, coffee, and supplements. So, um, I think that's I think that's all I have to say. If you're experiencing any kind of mental distress, please dial 988 here. in the United States that is the National Suicide Hotline, and they are prepared and capable of helping with any mental distress that you may be experiencing. um, just please stay another day. You know, when God created the world, He looked around and thought it needed one of you. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you exist. So let's get into Tim's stories out in Western Massachusetts of the Cobble Mountain Critter. All right, guys, let's get into it.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Weird. Get weird.
Hello everyone, it's Connie over on the YouTube channel Talk Spooky to Me, and currently you are listening to Kevin from Where the Weird Ones Are. Enjoy!
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode. So happy to have you here, and I have the pleasure of introducing you to one half of the Vogel brothers. His name's Tim Vogel. Tim, how's it going today, buddy?
Hi, everybody. I'm doing well. Doing well.
Happy to have you here, man. So how this happened was Jess Carlozzi is speaking at an event that Tim and his brother are hosting in Massachusetts, and just contacted me saying, "Hey, you should try and be a speaker at this event." So I reached out to Tim, and then Tim informed me that all the speaker spots were already spoken for, but he would love to be on the podcast. So I was like, "Let's do that." So we're here. So if for anybody who's unfamiliar with you and your brother and the things that you guys do, if you don't mind um, laying laying that out for everybody. That'd be great.
Sure. I'm Tim Vogel. My brother Eric is, we're the Vogel brothers when you look on Facebook. We've been doing Bigfooting for 13, 14 years now. And it started off as something crazy, and here we are today, running a festival and a nonprofit and everything else. So it's been a journey. It's been a
Yeah,
journey.
I'm sure it has. So this isn't the first festival either, right? This is
Oh
like
yeah,
this.
no, this is our first festival.
Oh, it
Um,
is. Okay.
yep. Um, what it is the Cobble Mountain Critter Project
Mhm,
is basically a youth outdoor education business. It's
mhm.
we raise funds through a couple of different fundraisers, the Cobble Mountain Critter Festival being one of them. Those funds in turn go into youth outdoor ed. And that means, it's kind of like a broad paintbrush out there in the youth outdoor ed world, but it's going to be more geared to sending kids to camp. We're going to be doing planting trees, having the kids come in from school and they get to take home a tree and go and plant it like we did when I was a kid back in, fifth, sixth grade. We're working with potential people. I can't mention it yet, but we're possibly putting together a coloring book about
Oh,
the Cobble Mountain Reservoir and how and why it was built, and having the Cobble Mountain Critter being the character, telling the story. So it'll be, Cobble Mountain, the Bigfoot in a steam shovel, an old dump truck, and things like that, telling the history of the reservoir, and then to what they're doing today. And then in fifth grade, they get a taste of you know, leave no trace outdoor ethics, how to act in the outdoors and respond, and how to respect where they are in the outdoors. Um, they'll be getting T-shirts and water bottles and stuff like that through sponsors, and so it's a lot of fun, and we hope to reach a lot of people so that they come out to the festival, and we make some money to give it back to youth outdoor ed.
That is awesome.
That's what the project is about. And then
Yeah.
so the festival is a piece of the project, the Cobble Mountain Project,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really it. It's basically a fundraising machine for youth outdoor ed.
That's awesome.
So
I
Eric and
respect that.
I, when we started it, Eric and I, we took our years of experience, and so basically we're running around doing library shows, talks, different places, all over the place, really. And they're actually pretty well attended. Some of the libraries out here in Western Mass, it's kind of like a library tour. You'll get 40 to 60 people in a library. And that's the people that will actually raise their hand and say, "Hey, I want to go to a Bigfoot talk," So, and they're few and far between. So if there's that many willing to come out, there's probably 100, 200 more in the community that's not quite there yet. So we're a vehicle for them to come out and hear our story. Then they share their story if it's there, and everybody walks away with a business card, so that most of the time they don't want to. If they've got something real, they'll contact us, and we've done very well bringing in reports just off of our library talks, other festivals, things like that. We've been invited to speak at conference, stuff like that. It's pretty wild. It's a surreal topic, Bigfoot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was just out doing my taxes today, and I was telling the guy about our business, and so I have to do taxes. He's laughing. He's like, "This is incredible." It's like, really, people do this? And I'm like, "Yeah, we do this." So it was, some people are literally clueless to Bigfoot and the whole thing. And somebody like my brother and Eric and I, who had an experience, you just can't unhave an experience, and that's what's put us in this direction. And so that's kind of the Vogel brothers gives the Bigfoot stories at the library through the Cobble Mountain Critter, and that money in turn goes into the fundraiser. So that's
Nice.
kind of us in a nutshell, sort of.
Nice. That's amazing. And you said that you have sponsors and everything.
Yeah, we're working on more sponsors. I've got first and foremost, we have Richie B and Steve Wojo there from the Banter with Richie B show and
Yep,
Wojo.
I'm familiar.
And those guys are our media. They're like you, a podcast, big following, and these guys, if you've watched them, they're amazing. They got a lot of energy. It's kind of like good cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
They're really fun. They've got a lot of energy. Did I mention they got a lot of energy? So
Yeah.
they're going to be. So they do a lot of our promoting for us online via their media ways, and they got a gazillion of them. So we're very thankful for that. That's a big help. You having us on, letting us talk about it. A few people will see it. Maybe they'll come in, maybe they won't. But they'll get to hear about it and know that you can go out and make a report, and we're a great avenue for that.
Nice. I like that. I like that a lot. Um, so I didn't know that there were Bigfoot sightings in Massachusetts at all. But what I would really, so I'm not familiar with the Cobble Critter. So if you don't mind cluing me in on the lore of this guy, I'd love to hear it.
He's been around for years. Let me back up. The first reported sighting in like a newspaper colony print or something like that in Massachusetts was 1765 in Great
Oh, wow.
Barrington. And that was, I want to say they were farmers. This thing was in a farm or something like that. And they found it, this group that had come out looking for it came out and found it under a tree sleeping, actually. It had, I guess it took a nap after chow, eating some chickens or something. I don't know what it was eating, but it was found, and they wrote about it, and it was the big hairy man. And there you go. 1765 was our first reported Bigfoot. And that's in Western Mass. It was in Great Barrington. I'm in Russell, Mass, home of the Cobble Mountain Critter. So the Cobble Mountain Critter has a huge green space. They took a town of Blandford and Granville and part of Russell, and they took the land and flooded it, and it became a reservoir. And that's when more people started seeing this critter. And it's just kind of been a local lore. It's kind of the boogeyman, the wild man, that kind of thing, like the normal local, you kind of take for granted lore. Watch out for the boogeyman. It all stems from the Bigfoot or the Wendigo. The original New England or indigenous kind of Bigfoot was a Wendigo, or in some shape thereof. So it's so like I said, it's a bizarre concept, but there you go.
I like to
That's
think.
kind of like the Cobble Mountain Critter. It is a Bigfoot, and it's it's in this reservoir area. So the name fitted. One of the reports that we had was a woman she was like the third wheel, two people up she was driving, two people in the back seat were parking, and at the Cobble Mountain Reservoir, and it's dark, and they're just doing their thing, and next thing you know, she's saying that the trunk got pushed down a number of times, and everybody kind of freaked out what was going on. They looked out and saw this big hairy thing, and it ran up a cliff, and they took off. She submitted a report, and it's out there. There's been state police that have been made that actually reported it, hearing howls coming out of it's a really steep gorge, this Cobble Mountain area, and it comes out of Little River Gorge, and the howls were coming out of there. And there was numerous reports. Like I said, I'm a ranger here at a 1,300 acre property. We've had Class A sightings. Our property abuts their property, and they've got a number of thousands, and there's thousands of acres in state forest and campgrounds, and it's woods. That's so it's a large tract of land all the way to western Mass into northern Connecticut into New York, into the Appalachian Trail. You got a bunch of little towns, but there's nothing. It's kind of dotted. It's country, it's rural, and I'm out here on a 1,300 acre camp. My driveway is, my mailbox is a half mile away.
Wow.
So, we've done a number of expeditions here, and we've had a number of Class A or visual sightings. We've had whoops, we've had knocks. I sent you a bunch of pictures. Did you you saw them?
Yes, sir.
All right. So some of them came here. Some of them are in different areas of the state that we've taken them. But right here on the property, we've had the sheriff come up, or not the sheriff, the local chief, and we had a local guy up here hunting. He had permission to hunt, and him and his kid had just a quick snapshot into their sighting. This thing was mimicking an owl, and that's how we found out. And it sounded like a really deep, like his term, a berry white sounding owl, really low end berry white. It was, you've heard the owls. You're from Maine. You've heard the owls before. It's that,
Oh yeah.
That kind of thing. And
Yeah.
except put that real low tone in there. And so It was doing it back and forth to something else. It was doing a similar return response call.
Mhm.
So 2 hunters, one on the mountain, one down in the swamp. And he calls his son and says, "Hey, is that you?" And he says, "No, I thought it was you." He says, "Okay, let's get the heck out of here." So they beat feet. And on the way out, turned around and they saw something walking out. So they made the report. The guy came back a day later with me, and we went out and I found a 17-inch track in the moss. And sphagnum moss is it's really spongy, collects a lot of
Mhm.
water. It's that squishy stuff you wouldn't mind camping out on. It's really like a nice mattress, really
Yeah.
thick. And so that's what it was. And normally, I mean, you can camp. I could camp out on this stuff, and it'll recover, and you would never know I was there. Having said that, camping and sleep on durable surfaces. Having said that, but anyways, this thing had stepped on a patch of moss. That was the only indicator in how we found it, and it was a nice little patch of moss, and there's this Bigfoot, boom, right there, squished right into the moss, right where he said it was going to be, and a 17-inch track.
Wow.
I didn't cast it. I probably should have, but we took pictures nonetheless, and corroborated his story. So it just verified, we had, active activity right here in Western Mass, right
Yeah.
here on my property, my backyard.
That's that's amazing. That's
Yeah,
amazing. The I don't have a lot of property, but the most action I get is squirrels, occasional deer, but
yeah,
that's about it for me. I would love so like I think of Bigfoot as like I've said it like 100 times now on the podcast, so I apologize to the listeners
no
that
worries.
you hear me saying the same thing over and over again, but I think of Bigfoot as like a Santa Claus for me, like as an adult. Like so like I want because I personally have never seen him. I believe in him and I believe in a lot of and I believe in people's stories and all that and I want to see him for myself, but because I haven't, it's like it's
It's like a
like that
unicorn,
feeling of yeah, like you're just like sitting there waiting for Santa Claus to show up every night and then he
yeah,
doesn't
a
like
Santa Claus.
so right. So I am
Totally
going
get it.
on a Bigfoot hunt, a guided
Hmm.
tour of the where the heck is it? It's in Tennessee. We're going
Yeah,
out for 2 days camping trip
yeah,
with a bunch of guys. So
good.
hoping, but I do hear a lot of stories too that when you're actually looking for them, you're not gonna see them. So it's
Yeah,
usually
well,
by accident.
I would beg to differ. I run a
Yeah.
number of expeditions, and like I told you earlier, or I was just speaking to someone else earlier. We've had dozens of people on a numerous of sightings that we've had.
Oh
It's kind
wow.
of bizarre. We've been around for long enough to um, go off and do many investigations, and through these investigations have other responses or other experiences other than sightings, whoops, whistles, knocks, clacking,
Mm-hmm.
uh, you name it. We haven't heard the talking yet, but we have friends within our groups that have. That Sierra talk, the chatter. But rest
Yeah.
assured, this thing is alive. It's out there, and we've seen it. I've seen it personally through a FLIR. Uh, we're on an expedition. We used to run expeditions for the BFRO, and we
Oh
had
wow.
a group expedition out on the October Mountain State Forest, and there was a dozen people or so, and we all had, not all of us, maybe 4 or 5 of us had FLIRs, and the rest had other devices that they were using, and some just kind of were there hanging out watching. And we're up there, almost midnight, and we're all looking. It's raining and it's drizzly out. And, all of a sudden, you could smell it. We didn't know it was a Bigfoot. We just could smell something all of a sudden, and it was pretty distinctive. It was a more of a wet dog, like a deer, wet, something, hide, something like that. It was not like a bear, not like, it was a very deep, musky hide smell. Unlike I'd smelled before. It wasn't like beavers. I've got tons of beavers out here. I'm a ranger at a camp. I know what a beaver musk, and I know those things.
Mhm.
I wasn't familiar with this, and it was very strong. One of our buddies had brought it up. No one just, all of a sudden the air became, you could notice it. And that was the real thing. So about that very same time, a number of guys, I think Dave McCullough, Dave was the first guy to see it. Hey, you see that thing over there? And everybody's watching. And, we all got these fleers and we're watching this thing, and we called it the pacing Bigfoot. Going back the following day, there was an ash tree that had fallen down. This was about 90 feet long tree. Now, we didn't know this at the time. We're up there, it's dark, it's raining. All of a sudden, you can smell this odd smell coming in. And then the guys are starting to see on the fleers this object kind of going back and forth. And you go 10, 15 feet and then go back 20 feet, go back 30, 40 feet, go back. And this thing is going all the way to about 90 feet. And next thing you know, it hopped off. Well, it's a log, but it just took off and went towards the woods, and it disappeared. Like, woohoo, we saw something weird. It was through fleers with looks like a duck, quacks like a duck. It's probably a duck, And so that happened. And then we're all sitting there back there. We're at Felton Pond in October Mountain State Forest, and we're all sitting there talking about it. It's a group. It's a dozen or so people, just talking and sharing the experience. And, bring up the fleers again, and we're checking it out. Nothing out there. So we're going to beat feet. Next thing you know, this crystal blue orb shows up, and it's 50 feet into a 100-foot white pine. On the end, what it looked like is a peninsula. Just from where we were standing, it looked like the end tree, so it looked like a peninsula. It wasn't a peninsula. You could obviously walk around, but from where we were standing, it looked like the last tree on the end of a peninsula. And this, I ain't kidding. It's so bizarre, but this thing was, I don't know, it had to be, this big. It was ginormous for a giant blue ball, and it just like a light switch turned on 50 feet up in a pine tree. Then it started going up the pine tree, went all the way. We're all watching this, jaws hitting the floor. And no one got a picture of it. This thing is going up the tree, and then it traverses across the tree line, the very tops of the trees. And once it gets to the top, it didn't go around branches. It just went to the top. And this pine is 100 feet. It's 50 feet of branches it's going through.
Whoa.
Never deviated. It didn't, emit light. It just kind of was a ball of light within itself, and it was kind of weird. It just kind of went to the top of the tree, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, gone, done.
Whoa.
And this was right after this Bigfoot had disappeared. So, this is a Bigfoot story with witnesses that had seen this whole thing that can put a Bigfoot with an orb. So we go back the day after that experience and we started casting some tracks that we had found. Some of the tracks were really crap. It was high grass, and the grass really, you could see where the steps were, but you couldn't really cast it. It was very undefinable. Well, we did cast them, but they were junk. And the one cast that we did, my brother's got the casts. But anyways, I may have sent you some pictures of them on it. But anyway.
Yeah, you did send me a couple pictures of foot casting.
Some of those I think were the juveniles. I don't know what I sent you, but that's a whole nother story. But so anyways, we were up there, and that's what happened. We ended up getting 2 castable tracks out of that experience. Dozen people saw this whole image taking place, and it was a large image. It wasn't like a bear walking and doing all that on his back feet and walking the way it was. It just wasn't. Having said that, when we did record it, but it came out too pixelated. For the equipment we had at the time, I think that was 2018, I believe. The 100 yards. It was 100 yards because we had a rangefinder. That's how far we knew where the log was, and it was raining and drizzly, and the pixelization. You could see what we were seeing, but the pixelization in the recording didn't do it justice. So we never released it, never put it out there. But yet there it was. It happened, and it was numerous people, and it was different experiences with the Bigfoot sighting, from the orb to the Bigfoot, the pacing, to the FLIR, to the smell, and then the casts. So,
It was an amazing experience. That's an amazing experience.
And that was when we did the you do these expeditions like you. These guys are supposed to, like us, do our due diligence and go to a place where you most likely have an experience, and you go there hoping that you can produce, for these people that have never seen it, an experience, be it a sighting or a whistle or a knock, something. But you go to a place where we've had numerous experiences, and it continues to be a place. So we'll continue to go there. I'm not afraid to share it. Everybody knows about it. If you don't, it's October Mountain. It has a history all in its own. In fact, Eric and I just did the Berkshire Eagle. It's a newspaper out here in Pittsfield, and they ran a story. Their last story on Bigfoot, I believe, was in October Mountain State Forest at Felton Pond. And Eric and I are pulling casts out of Felton Pond, and so we were telling them about this story. We're doing a talk March 19th at the Dalton Library, and we'll have these casts with us as well. But so they came out and did a story on us, and it was, it's a lot of fun. October Mountain, there's a lot of interesting things. There's also, my brother is more into the ghosts of that area, and there's a whole history up there.
Yeah.
But for us, it was the Bigfoot and our own experience. We've had numerous experiences up there.
So, what was the first experience that you guys had that kind of like kicked this whole thing off?
Well, I guess you can say it was 1976. Yeah, it was just before January. I think it was just before New Year's, and we had a huge snowstorm, and something with big feet went through our backyard in the little town of West Springfield, Mass. And all of a sudden, unbeknownst to us, we're out in our backyard. We're kids. We're 13, 14, 12. And we're looking at these ginormous tracks in this fresh snow. It's like, what is this? Prior to that, we were shoveling driveways. We were going to go see a movie out in the little town of Agawam. And this movie was the Bigfoot, The Legend of Sasquatch, or Sasquatch, The Legend of Bigfoot.
Yeah.
That was the movie, and it was coming out in 76 in the theaters. So here we are, a couple kids from Massachusetts, like, what? And we're scouts. We've been camping at this point, 12, we've been camping forever. And literally. So anyways, we didn't recognize this thing as what is this Bigfoot? What is this? We're camping out and this thing's out there. What is this? So, it was a whole new thing. In 1967, Bob Gimlin and Patterson took the photos back in that October. So, it isn't that far away. This is still a new thing. It's really a West Coast thing. It's really not an East Coast thing. Even back then in the 70s, it was, maybe they talked about it, but, it never affected us as kids until this movie came out. And that's when it kind of brought a light onto this Bigfoot, and more people started to maybe see it and or recognize it, or could identify what they were potentially seeing or hearing. So it kind of gave, people that didn't know what they were. People up here have been having experiences since 1765, probably much earlier. All right. So we've been having the experiences. They just didn't know how to explain it. Wendigo, wild man, hairy man, large man, boogeyman. That's what it became. So,
Mm.
so anyway, so we go there and we see this, the Bigfoot movie, and we work our way back. We literally shovel driveways to get money to go into the movie, and we were doing on the way there. So it's a good business plan. So we got out of there and we came back, and then just a few weeks later, now we got the snowstorm and these foot tracks going through our backyard. Now our backyard, it went back quite far. It butted the railroad tracks, the Westfield River, Robinson State Forest, and what we call the canal at a paper mill. And this thing, they found tracks coming up out of the river down in Agawam, and it walked many miles and over the ice and snow, the canals, railroad tracks up through our yard, through our backyard, down a creek in our backyard. We had an apple orchard, came through the creek in the apple orchard, and like it was eating apples. And so, and then it vanished off, crossed the Western River, went into Robinson State Park. And that's to the extent that I remember. And this can all be found on Bigfoot, Bigfoot Chronicles. There's stories, you can Google it. Bigfoot, Massachusetts, 76, you'll find it. So anyways, so that was the extent of it. Now, before the end of all this, we've got investigators like Eric and I now in our backyard, camped out in the woods looking for Bigfoot. We've got the police, we've got the newspaper, we've got the TV. Everybody's this new phenomena is in our backyard. So, I go from, there's 6 boys in my family. So we're all out there looking for Bigfoot, and it was intense. And the media and the spotlight and the fun, it was quite an ordeal for a kid, to have something like that. You just saw a movie of this new creature. Now it's in your backyard. What are the chances, right? So we kind of leave it at that. A few months later, we find out there's a detective who that we do in our PowerPoint and our talk. He's still around. He did the first initial investigation in Agawam. He was the detective, and apparently, to finish off that story, a kid that went to see the movie, 16, 17, 18 or something, he saw the same movie we saw. And he went to scare the kids in the neighborhood in Agawam, a different town. And he went and made these plywood shoes that Bigfoot strapped them to his feet. And he did, we didn't even know what a hoax was. He was just having fun. He was a hoax. We didn't even know what a Bigfoot was till this movie came out. Now this kid's running around with these tracks, had everybody in had the whole town. Like, wow, what is this? Holy, it was a to-do. And so anyways, I don't know if he had a guilty conscience or what, but he turned himself in, told the police what happened, what was going on. It was, a slap on the wrist maybe, and you behave. And that was the extent of it. I think he got his tracks back, his shoes back too. They didn't hold him on evidence. But so anyways, that was our very first, in 1976, Bigfoot experience. And I don't know, they said hoax. I don't even know what a hoax was back then, so it didn't matter. All I knew was Bigfoot was in my backyard, and that was it. That was it. So, fast forward from there, and now it's 2013. And, we went through life, went in the Navy and did all that stuff, have a family and blah, blah, blah. And next thing you know, start a business. And we've had this business now for 20 years, adventure education. It was called Cobble Mountain Outdoors. And it was outdoor adventure education business. We did wilderness first aid, mountaineering, climbing, kayaking, you name it. And we did all the certifications for it. We're an outdoor industry. So we worked in the outdoor industry. So we were taking groups kayaking and canoeing up in the Adirondacks. And we were going to go on vacation. So we decided, we'd been up there for years now. So we knew the pattern of people coming and going because we would plan our trips when there was less people. So we knew
Yeah.
when those times would be. So we knew that the colleges were going to start up. A lot of colleges do a lot of those fall orientation, meet and greets, and they paddle in Portage. And so once you get past that, late September, early October, chances are pretty good you're going to have a quiet midweek. And that's what we banked on. So we went up to this little place, and we got to the trailhead, and there's no one there to put in. And we carry our gear. We're got our canoes and gear, and off we go. And we paddle. We're out for 2 days, paddle and Portage, camping. We get to our spot. We took a long way to our spot to where we're going. And we get to our spot, and there's only one spot. In New York, when you're camping on the lakes or the state property, there's designated campsites. They're usually numbered, especially in the lakes, in the Saranac,
Mhm.
St. Regis Wilderness Canoe area, where ours was, up near Long Pond and Pink Pond out that way. And we got up to the ponds out there and set up camp, and we were going to go for dinner. So I'm paddling. We're in the canoe. Eric's got the fly rod. I don't have a fly. Nothing. No telephone. No. We got a pair of tweezers for fish hooks to remove fish hooks, and a couple of flies, and the flies were in my life jacket. That was it. And that was it. And we were going to
The
go
way to
fishing
be.
for dinner. That was it. We were going fishing for dinner. And so we go off. We're taking off. So I'm paddling along, and Eric is catching fish left and right. It's like one of those stupid. I don't know. I won't say stupid things, but it's like we weren't worried about dinner anymore. It was like not every cast was a fish, and this is up in the Adirondacks. So we're hitting these 3 to 5 pound smallies on woolly buggers that we tie, and they're just little smallies dancing on the water. It's a whole bunch of fun with a 5-weight fly rod. It's a whole bunch of fun. So it was more about fishing at that point than it was dinner. We get going and going and going. We come to this confluence, this little creek coming in, and we go up through this braided stream area. It's kind of freaky because you don't know where you're ending up. It was braided, and you try to pay attention, but it's So we get up to this beaver dam. I figured, well, we'll just follow it the way out. We'll drift back out to the lake at some point, or we won't. So we're wilderness guys. We'll figure it out. So we get up to the end of the pond, and Eric decides he's going to let me fish. So I'm like, oh, yay. I'm like, there's nowhere to fish. I got all these braided. So we come to this beaver dam, and the beaver dam was pretty close, about 30 feet, shaped in a bow. The bow is, I'm at the apex, at the outside of the curve. And that's where the canoe is. So I'm in the backseat of the canoe. I'm about head level with the top of this beaver dam, and it's shaped, right into the shoreline. It's got a nice little pond back there. As we were paddling up, you could see the trees would, kind of go back. So you could see where the beaver dam was, and then where the stream feeding it went, because you could see the tree line and the cut through the woods. So it was a narrow stream feeding this little beaver pond, or this beaver dam. And so I start fishing up in there. There wasn't but a couple of casts, and I caught a fish. It's like, sweet. So I'm pulling in. And next thing you know, this little smallie busts water, and he's banging around out there. And next thing you know, this tree starts shaking like it's in a snow globe. Now, just to jump ahead, we went back the following year. This tree that is shaking is almost 10 inches around. The tree that was next to it that started shaking was 8 to 9 inches around. So here we are. I'm fishing. I'm pulling in a fish. This fish is dancing on the water. And all of a sudden, this tree is shaking literally like it was in a snow globe. The whole forest in September was quiet. Quiet. Nothing going on. And this tree starts shaking literally like it's in a snow globe. A very surreal, wow, what is going on with this? And next thing you know, a moment later, a second tree is shaking. These trees, by the way, fast forward, is almost 10 feet apart. Almost 10 feet apart. So we don't know this at this time. All we see is two trees shaking like crazy. And then a couple moments later, this roaring starts. And I've been a ranger going on 20 years now. And I've stopped counting bear encounters. It's just, it's almost like an uneventful thing. And they leave. They spot you and they run. They don't engage very, very, very seldom. Very seldom. And they always run. They're not vocal. They might pop their mouth at you and then poof, they're off. They're running. It's just hindquarters and they're gone. And I've had numerous, more than a dozen, let's put it that way. Very close. And
Wow.
I'm picking berries on one end. He's 3 feet away from me on the other side. I just didn't see him. Simple as that. And he's popping
Holy
his legs.
cow.
Yeah. So here we are. This thing is out there, and this growling is going on, and this growling is, it's deep, it's loud, and it's a roar. It's growling, it's roaring, it's making a whole bunch of noise in one noise, and it's, I say it's like being at a Ted Nugent concert. The reverb is hitting you so loud, it's just, puts you in it's like doing a whole shot, puts you in the seat, in the back seat. You could feel it. And as it yelled with intensity, you could feel the vibrations hitting your body with the same intensity as the yell. Like it matched it for octave or something. It was a very surreal experience. Eric and I both shared that feeling of being hit by that wave. Some people call it infrasound. I don't know what the heck it was. All I could tell you is we could feel it, and it was unmistakable. So this thing is now shaking the trees, and it's roaring, and stuff is, falling out. They're so violent with the trees. Stuff is falling out of the trees, and stuff came towards us. I don't know if it was thrown at us because the trees were shaking so violently. It's possible a stick could have been broken and flung through torque and inertia and blah, blah, blah. And it come out. Nothing actually came and hit us. Nothing came out past the actual dam. It stayed within probably a 30-yard, 40-yard area. It stayed within that boundary from the tree shaking. And it's all happening kind of fast, so you don't know what you're looking at except sticks, maybe rocks coming out. And so that was kind of weird. And everything is all happening. This only got more aggressive as it went on. And this went on for at least, I didn't even have to watch a phone or nothing, but I'm going to say 10 minutes. It probably was maybe 15 minutes, and it was 10 minutes long, maybe. It's 10, 15 minutes easily, because we had to paddle in, paddle out, and all that stuff. And this never, ever, ever, ever stopped roaring. I mean, it didn't even come up for a breath. Dude, it never stopped making a noise. When them trees started shaking and it started roaring, that noise never stopped. And we ended up backing out of that braided stream. Remember earlier I said I was worried I was going to get lost? We didn't get lost. We hauled ass. And we found our way out quick. And that was it. And the reason why we left, it was that, back up a little bit. Eric and I are kind of funny. He didn't want nothing to do with it. And I'm like, yeah, dude, let's go check it out. Let's go check it out. There's a cartoon. The canoe would have ripped in half, But so I followed Eric, and we went out. And this thing or things was yelling and screaming. And it didn't stop. And it didn't stop. And it didn't stop. We're now out of the stream, 50 yards into the lake, turned around looking back at the trees. And it's still screaming. Still. And we're like, dude, what? We're backed out a little further. We were continuing to back out. It got more and more and more aggressive before we left. And that's why we left, because it got so aggressive. I was willing to stay there to a point. And then, like I said, the sticks, the yelling, the vibrations, it was clearly letting us know you need to get out. You need to
Mm,
go. That
Yeah.
was it. And it was a pretty clear message. We took it and we got out of there. We didn't leave the site. We're sitting there, we're watching it because we're wilderness guides, been guides for 20 years, and this has never, ever, ever, ever even entered the radar. And it's like, what is this? And we both witnessed this bizarro thing, and we're trying to wrap our head around it. And like, dude, was it a mountain lion and a bear fighting? What was going on? Even if it was, they never came up for air. That never stopped. So now we're sitting in the lake, we're waiting. It's gone at least 10 minutes. And then it finally stopped. As quick as it started, it stopped. Just like that. So it was like, wow, okay. Now where is it? At least when it was making noise, we knew where it was. And now it's stopped and there's nothing going on, no trees, no nothing. So we're freaking out, in our own little minds. We're trying to, well, I'm cool, you cool, yeah, I'm cool. We're trying to get the hell out of there. Yeah, I ain't kidding. And we're talking about what we just witnessed, and we didn't know, just didn't know. And it ended up being like mountain lions, just so we could put something to it.
Something to it.
'Cause
Yeah.
even mountain lions didn't make sense because they never stopped. It never like took a breath. It was like
Huh.
on. It went on for 10 minutes and then it went off. So I'm thinking there was multiple Bigfoots, and because I could tell you all the animals that aren't going to shake the trees like that, and
Mhm.
I'll guarantee you'll know every one of them. And this is now for us. At this point, we're not thinking Bigfoot. I told you I'm thinking a mountain lion, but we didn't understand the tree shaking. The roaring and the screaming and all that. I don't know, Bigfoot, mountain lion. I don't know. It's tree shaking, stuff coming out of the water at us. The powerful vibration you could feel. That all became a thing. So
Mhm.
here we are. We're paddling back. We're out of there. We're heading back to our campsite. Eric says, "Dude," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know." He says, "Our campsite is 200 yards from this thing." Where we just camped. We just put up our tent. We're 200 yards on the same side as this whole event. And we're kind of trying to, nonchalant about it. We don't know where this thing went. And here we are heading in that direction. It's like, oh, God. So it was a very nerve-wracking experience, to say the least. The night went uneventful. Something did come through, but I think it was a deer.
Yeah.
It was lighter. It felt, it was lighter. The hoof, you could tell it was, I believe, a deer, maybe a moose. But anyway, something came through the camp. By the time I saw it, it was already gone. And first light, we were out. Packed up our canoe, gone.
I don't
Right back
blame
to
you.
the put in, and we were out. Yeah. Now, we don't know about Bigfoot at this point. We saw back in 76 Bigfoot, but we didn't put the two together. And it wasn't until probably later on that year we got into Facebook, actually. And a number of people had directed me to go in that direction because there were other people in this new world of Facebook for me that had similar experiences, and that if I really wanted to know more, and if somebody had shared similar experience, then I should check this out. So I got into it, started doing it, and then all of a sudden, we're learning all this different stuff and kind of saying, wow, these similarities, all this stuff that's happened to us. This must be it. This must be the answer to our New York experience, and some other littler things or lesser things that had happened with whoops and knocks. And so that's kind of where it went from there. Facebook, unfortunately, that crazy place. But it was a good avenue, still is a good avenue to spread the word and get your stuff out there. It kind of keeps people in contact with one another. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't normally be in contact with these people.
Mhm.
And you get to hear variations from around the country, different experiences that different people are having, which in a nutshell is good for the research component. Somebody can
Oh,
gather it all
absolutely.
and keep it together. And there's numerous groups that are trying to create databases. We've got people on the East Coast, people on the West Coast, people down in Florida. people out in Indiana. There's all kinds of people trying to do it. That part of the stuff is a fragmented world. If we ever get together and have something centralized, maybe after the government says, yeah, it's a thing, then maybe something will happen. But other than that, we're on our own. Everything is a thing until it's not, and it's all speculative. But that was kind of sidetracked. That's what got us into it. Really, that's what kind of put us over the edge. Now we've had an experience that we can't explain. We are seasoned wilderness guides and never had this before. Not that many people would have had that before, but we didn't, and we didn't know how to explain it. So we went to find out what it was. It was that it made that much of a mark on us that didn't change our ways of camping or guiding or something like that. We just chalked it up to a couple of mountain lions and blew it off.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a mountain lion. I'll guarantee that.
So
that was kind of it. And then we got into a couple of groups. You had heard me mention BFRO. We were a group called Squatchachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
And a few other groups.
Nice.
From there, we went and to go to conferences and things like that. We did some expeditions, and that's kind of how we evolved into the Vogel brothers. Kind of everything comes to an end, and so we're business minded. We had a business called the Cobble Mountain Outdoors that we had retired pretty much because of COVID. COVID showed outdoor education. No one's going to hire outdoor ed when schools are closed.
Right.
So it kind of went by the wayside. And, we got bored, wanted to start another business. And this was something we were both passionate about. And how could we make it how could we do this, research it, and still make it a business? And our past is almost, 20 years in adventure education with youth outdoor education. So, from training kayaking instructors to, bringing kids into learning leave no trace methods, from a third to a, college level. So youth outdoor education was the answer for us. And we went with the Cobble Mountain Critter Project because the project is raising money to give to the youth for the outdoor education. So that's kind of how.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And there's been.
I'm surprised that you didn't think bear for the at all. You immediately went to mountain lion. But then again,
No. The first thing was bear. We thought it was a bear and a mountain lion fighting.
Oh.
And we were laughing about it and maybe it was a couple of bears beating up a mountain lion. But how were the two trees shaking? Just
Right.
those two trees shaking for 15 minutes, 10-15 minutes, and never letting up with the sound and the depth, the volume.
Mm-hmm.
You could feel it.
Absolutely.
It's just that simple. You just feel it. And you can feel it 50 yards out in the lake. So we're 100 yards away from this thing, and we can still feel it.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
The hardest thing for Jeff.
Yeah, because I know bears shake trees, but Massachusetts, New England has black bears. Black bears aren't very big. They're not big enough to shake trees like that.
No, this here, you, me, and 10 of our friends couldn't shake this tree like that.
Right.
We could not get around. First, it's 10 inches solid. It's, a full-on tree, and it's 40 feet tall probably, and it is shaking like it's in a snow globe.
That's
surreal
amazing.
shaking, wild. And then the second one started as aggressively shaking. So that's why we believe there were two. And so here we are a number of years later, and we're Monday morning quarterbacking this experience, right?
Yeah.
Dude, we've had numerous times to rehash this and talk about it. And our final thought on this whole experience, why were we there? We were fishing. The fishing that day was exceptional. I told you, it was a fish story. It wasn't dinner. It was now fishing. It was just fun. And it brought us to this beaver pond. Now, when we got there, we noticed the beaver pond and we noticed it was very narrow. I believe there was 2. There could have been more. There could have been a family unit. I have no idea. Maybe that's why this cacophony and noise was so loud and so aggressive and went on for so long. No idea. I can't. That's a hard one to wrap your head around. But for 10 minutes, it held its breath or just yelled, "Ah!" for 10 minutes. Never came up for air.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking there's multiple Bigfoots or things. Something's going on, and or at this point we're Monday morning quarterbacking, so we're thinking it's Bigfoot. And a good buddy of ours, Dave McCullough, has these handprints, casts of these Bigfoots, and their mitts are like first baseman's gloves and bigger. The
Wow.
cast that he has, I just drawing a blank on the cast, but Dave's got he's got a great collection of casts and things like that in New England here. He's got a lot. So he has this one cast and it has hands. I mean, so my point is, if there's at least 2, that means there's 4 hands as big as pitcher or first baseman gloves. And now my thought, and Eric, is they started way down that creek and they pushed all those fish in that stream down to the holding tank, which is the beaver pond. So they've pushed, just like an Indian or back in the native days, they'd use it as a trap. It was a beaver trap. Now it's a fish trap. These Bigfoots are walking through and they're pushing all the fish right down into this beaver trap. Now these things go through. They're either going to try to swim out, and if they got their hands in the water, it's like a net. I mean, you just and if this is a narrow stream, and they've been doing this for many, many, many fishing trips, this is probably how they're collecting fish.
Right.
And fishing in this one particular scenario. And so my belief is they went in, they pushed fish into this beaver pond because it was small, and they were able to collect the fish out of there. I came in, started fishing, and they were totally cool with us coming fishing right up to the front door. But the minute I started to break water with that smallie, they said, "No way, dude. That's it. We're out." And they started yelling at us. They, "Get out. This is our fishing hole." You probably some choice words in Bigfoot word, but
Yeah.
and it's like, look at these 2 wingnuts. They come in here and steal our hole, and it's like, get out, and that's kind of Monday morning quarterback, and that's how we feel about it.
Yeah. I
Why
would
were we
agree.
there?
I
We
would
were
agree
fishing.
100% with with your thoughts on that.
Yeah,
All the Bigfoot encounters that I've heard, a lot of them tend to be when you're like overdoing something. You're taking more from nature than you need to and stuff. I had Ron Moorhead on the show last year, and he was talking to me about a trip that he went up to Alaska where there was a lot of poaching. So like all these villagers were seeing Bigfoot constantly, and he was aggressive and doing and kind of a little violent and stuff like that, and was scaring a lot of locals. And and Ron did his investigation with a team and stuff like
yep,
that, and he's like, well, there's poaching out here, so like stop over hunting and you're gonna and probably be a little more peaceful. So that's what ultimately ended up happening, is there was a group of people that were just out there just over hunting. And so
right.
once they were able to put an end to that, he said that they hadn't had any reports ever since. So
Yeah. No, there's a friend of ours, Ernie Daverow. He's got an
mhm.
amazing story here in Granville, right there in the Cobble Mountain Reservoir. So
Yeah.
he met the Cobble Mountain Critter. I'll give you his contact later. We'll stay in touch, and I'll get you his
Okay.
contact. You got to have him on your show.
Yeah.
First off, he's an amazing guy, but his experience, first hand, face to face,
Oh, wow.
he considers them a people. That's how close he was. This wasn't, like a 40-yard sighting or something like this. This was face to face, talking, not verbally talking, maybe hand sign language,
Mhm.
communications, pointing. It's a whole new level of Bigfooting, really, with this. People are now talking about communication. Ernie's definitely on the forefront of this. And I think there's something to it. I don't know how we can say, well, we're going to investigate Sasquatch communication, but most people are going to see a Sasquatch, freak out and run, let alone get a picture of it. Hey,
Right.
what's up, boy? Come on over, we'll chat. I,
That,
it's a fight or flight response.
yeah,
I don't know what
absolutely.
So it's one of those things. Having said that, and fun aside, there are people that are having experiences or have had experiences with some sort of, with Bigfoot, but some sort of communication interaction, and that's really cool. And I don't know of anybody that's really exploring that. We're all
Mm,
looking for Bigfoot. Now we're looking for people that have had different unique things about this, and it's all part of the research. It's something is going to interest you more than me. I'm not a big fan of wood structures. I get it, but I'm not your guy. I'm
hmm
not that guy. There are plenty. Having said that, I'm not. I'm. It has to be pretty intriguing. I've lived my entire life in the woods. I work as a ranger. I've been a ranger for 20 years. I've seen I've seen trees intertwined and twisted and all kinds of weird things periodically over time, cumulatively. And now 20 years later, you look at this and say, dude, look at that. What happened there? And I can tell you the story of what happened there. You may not want to believe it, but that's probably what happened. I've got uh, groves of, you've probably seen it, white birch, and you get snow or ice on them and they're
Yep.
down. Well, 2 years, 3 years ago, going on 3 years now, I think, we had an ice storm, brought the birches down, and they never recovered. The ice stayed on it, snow came on it, spring showed up, all the twigs grew down into the ground, became like little dreadlocks with each other branches, and now it's all knotted down there, and they're never going to recover, and they're never going to bounce up. So in 30 years, when this forest of bent birches grows up, it's going to be interesting to see what it looks like and what people have to say. I'm sure it'll be some sort of portal. It'll be something, spiritual. And dude, it was nothing more than a wheat grove of birch that took an ice storm. That's today's story. 30 years from now, it'll be, who knows?
Right.
So it's kind of, so experience goes a long way in this field from, and I'm
I
not
would agree.
knocking it. There's guys, I got buddies out on the eastern portion of Massachusetts that have uh, bunks or nests. There's guys out on the west coast that have nests. I haven't seen it. Doesn't mean it exists. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just
hmm
means I haven't seen it yet. And I'm certainly not going to downplay, those guys and their word. Just like I hope they wouldn't downplay my word. That's the only thing we've got going is Bigfooters is our word. And until you're caught off on a tangent or a lie somewhere, people will pretty much take you seriously, or at least believe you believe what you're saying. You know,
hmm
so
Yeah, absolutely. Are you finding fulfillment in what you're doing?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
we're having a lot of fun with it actually. Local community, we've been doing a lot of libraries, and that's given us more stories. So we're investigating locally, which is
hmm
fun. And we're coming up with our own, people are, hey, it's the Bigfoot guys. You're in the store. Hey, what's up, Bigfoot guys? And, they got the stickers on the cars in town. The police, we do a number of youth benefits, town benefits, the, Russell Town, Family Day, the Family Fun Halloween event. You're throwing out hundreds of bars of candy to kids, and it's a fun community thing. So people are familiar with the Cobble Mountain Critter, and we've been in numerous communities throughout Western Mass, Connecticut, New York. So we're kind of like the Western Mass. We're becoming a Western Mass name, and hopefully the go-to guys to tell your story. It's not about us. We don't make money. And any money that we do receive from this stuff goes right into youth outdoor ed. So really, we're not making anything. It's a nonprofit. we're not making no money. But we're spending a lot of money on gear and things like that, gas money. And
Oh, I
so
bet.
it takes money to do this stuff.
It
And
sure does.
you go investigate. We got a guy down the road. I should mention those guys, Skyline Beer Company. Great guys, Skyline Beer Company. They make beer and they have a great restaurant while they're there. And in April, Eric and I are going down and doing April 1st, April Fools. It's us. We're going down and doing a Bigfoot Beers and Bigfoot with those guys, and they're going to break open a brand new ginormous tank of fresh brewed Cobble Mountain Critter Ale, and beer cans, kegs, the whole
Nice.
deal. Cobble Mountain Critter Ale. We went down. You check our site. I have some, or the Vogel brothers site. They have some pictures of us down there working in the brewery in the back. It's kind of neat photo ops, and it's fun. Yeah,
That's
that hops
awesome.
and the yeast and all that stuff that you're pulling out at the bottom of it. It's like they make dog treats and it goes to a farm. But I mean, you can sit there and just gum. It smells good. Yeah. So, but having said that, it's a whole lot of fun. So the community's involved, and it's a fun thing. It's Bigfoot. It's a pop icon at the moment. Everybody
Yeah.
loves Bigfoot, and I think that's with the shows Finding Bigfoot, and now you've got Expedition Bigfoot, and
Mm-hmm.
there's been other number of Bigfoot shows out there. These other guys that have some tenure in New England putting out shows or library, like Steve Calls. He's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And that's how I got introduced to, when I finally went off the deep end and said, yeah, I'm going to go to a Bigfoot thing. I went to a Steve Calls library talk. And that's when I realized, yeah, I'm off the deep end. And so ain't that guy. But he's been off it longer than me. So Steve and I kind of, we're both doing library tours. Yeah, it's kind of fun.
That's awesome.
He's an amazing guy. And I've seen his tour a number of times. And he does a whole different thing than us. Eric and I talk about our stories. Steve is a Sasquatch detective, and it's more of a detective background with Steve.
Mm-hmm.
I'll let you. Have you talked with Steve? Steve
I have
Culls?
not. I have not.
Oh, he's another guy. You got to write that down. Steve Culls. Another
Calls?
guy. Culls. Kulls. Culls. Steve Culls. Sasquatch detective. Good guy. Been around forever. He's got a lot of information. Facts. He's a good guy. He's kind of like the Bigfoot cop. He keeps everybody on check because he'll
Bigfoot
call you
cop.
out.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, he's he does his due diligence. He calls people out. He's not afraid to put up a stink or check on you. We're friends, and Eric and I put up a cast. Which one was it? We were with banter with Richie B and Steve Wojo. So we were with Richie B and Wojo. Steve Wogalovitz, kill his name. Wojo. We'll call him Wojo. So me, Steve, Eric, Richie B, and Wojo are up on October Mountain. This is now 2024, and we were kind of meeting each other for the first time. We've been talking back and forth. We'd done a podcast or two. So we kind of hit it off. And he wanted to do a meet and greet, so we met at October Mountain. We met here at the camp, actually. Showed him camp. We're going to be doing some things with the festival and stuff. And then we went out to October Mountain State Forest, so he could see how we go and what we do, and in the forest and in the environment that we work. It's a little different than the eastern shores of Massachusetts, cranberry bogs and lighter vegetation. Just a little different ecosystem than we have here in Western Mass. So anyways, we're here. We're in October Mountain, and we get to Felton Pond, and we're looking for tracks. Now, it's this year, so we had a drought. Everybody had a drought this year. And you could see the drought lines in the pond going down, the receding drought lines. And you could see the fisherman boot tracks as it goes down, pretty much along with those drought lines. And this one track, so there's 100 tracks out there: dog, deer, coyotes, you name it. There are tracks out there, and And, it was kind of disheartening because we were looking for something, but what are you going to find here?
Mm-hmm.
And it was all because the river was down. It was what we call a trap with that shoreline exposed the way it was. Otherwise, it's just high 2 foot tall swamp grass that we couldn't cast in 2-3 years ago because it was so high. The grass was so high. So here we are. We walking in, and we come to this Felton Pond. We get to a point where we go over a tree, and Eric and Wojo, I don't know who saw it first, but one of them pointed out to each other. I was with Richie B. We were doing something else, and those two were talking. Next thing you know, we got a call. We're over there, and boom, there it is. I mean, we got this track, unlike every other track, and we're
Wow.
trying to figure out where it came from. And the water hadn't receded more than 5-6 feet down from when we came in to make a track. And so here we are now. We're all looking at this track. We're taking photos. We've got the Versa scan and all this stuff. And we've got a track. We believe we've got a track. And so Richie B and Steve, Wojo, and I, Eric, we wanted to cast it, and we had we weren't expecting to find anything. Like usual Bigfooting, you don't expect to find anything, but there it was. And so we were going to leave. We were going to finish our walk, and then we were going to leave. And so we built a teepee over it and put bark over it so that it wouldn't wash out. And because it had been partially washed out a little bit, but not to the extent where we lost a lot of it. And so we put birch bark in it and other bark over it, built it pretty impenetrable so that a deer would walk around it or a person would walk around it as opposed to find our track that we wanted to cast the next day or two because we had to get back to it. And it's pretty far distance from where we are here. So it's a good hour away. So anyways, we've gone out, we've done our track, we've left, we come back, and now Wojo and Steve and Richie are back out east, and Eric and I are making the cast. And we walk in and we're photoing it again, and we're pouring the cast now. And this cast that we're pouring turns out to be 17 inches long and 8 inches wide. All right, and it came with a rock. And I'll show you that in a minute. Now, this cast was cast on, I don't know if you can see it. Anyways, right here, we've got it right in the cast while it's still wet. 7/3/24, October Mountain, Felton Pond, and the time. So that's engraved right there in the cast while it was wet. So this is when we cast it. Now, here's the cast of the track. This is 17 inches, top to bottom, heel to toe, and it's 8 inches wide going this way. Here's the actual portion that was in the ground. This is how we cast it. This is the on top portion. This rock was set in there like this, laying on the ground. So when we cast it, I don't know where you are there. When we cast it, the mud, the plaster went over the rock, and when we pulled the cast out of the ground, up came the rock. So we just let it harden, and eventually the rock came out, and this is our cast. This is the cast. So there were some questions. Some people had some questions, and hey, I'm all about it. I just got through saying there were 100 tracks out there, easily, but none of them were like this. None. This comes with 5 toes, a big toe. It's a little more definable here on this end. But that was it. This thing is 17 inches long.
That's incredible.
8 inches wide. And that, in my book, is a Bigfoot track. So we were talking about this track, and we had met Dr. Meldrum a number of times going to the Ohio Bigfoot Conference. And we're not buddy, but we are acquaintances. And I've messaged him a number of times with pictures of casts that we've taken. This track in particular, he's told me no on everything that I sent out. Good luck, it's close, but no. And I'm fine with that. We're out,
Yeah.
we're taking the casts. I'm giving them to you. And I don't even give them any story behind it. I say, here's your cast. Tell me what you think. So anyways, we give him this cast that I just showed you. And he actually comes back and said, yeah, this one has potential. This one
Wow.
has potential. But he needed to go back. I think he was in Alaska on one of his trips he was on one of his trips somewhere. He was at a show somewhere, so he couldn't dedicate the time. And I get that. You look at a schedule, it's busy. And I'm probably not the most important guy on his list. So he went through it, and when he did go through it, he gave us his honest opinion and said it was a potential Bigfoot track. This is what he's looking for, a Bigfoot track. So for that, that kind of, yay, that's a check off in our box. Dr. Meldrum likes it.
Yeah.
And for me, that's all that mattered. That was a little bit of clarification that he's like, hey, dude, you're on the right track. This is not 100% because I wasn't there and I don't know everything about it, but this is a pretty good darn track. And that's what I'm getting from it. And I think if he was sitting here next to me, he would agree with me because that's his words, the messages and stuff. This is potential. And, like I was saying, this thing here, it also goes down. This before it was mud, it was the shoreline, and it went down a good 1.5 inches. And that's how thick the cast is. That's a solid cast. All the other tracks were like you and I would make, barely surface, and this showed up. So how this track ended up and why 1 out of 100, right?
Yeah, right.
I believe at this point, when this track was made, it's a number of days old when we cast it. Maybe a week, maybe 2. I don't know. Wasn't there. But I can tell you that it looked like another track potentially in the water that was big. No defined marks, just a big foot track impression that was in the water, that this may have been the next step out, going over the log, and that's where foot was placed. And that's why there's no shoreline track, because it's still in the water. And so it's filled in with sediment and debris, and that's it. It's just gone. And so now I've got 1. Then we've got a second and possibly a third track where it came from this step that we cast. Another 50 inches or so, 55 inches away, is where the grass line starts, from the riparian zone to the grass line. And the grass line is a 2-foot, 24, 26, 7-inch step up before you get to the top of the grass. There's a step up to the grass. So it's not only, going over the tree. Now its next step is nearly 6 feet away, 7 feet away. And you could clearly see there's a step, but it's in this high grass now. And the high grass, it just doesn't do a cast justice. So that's that. But you could see where it potentially came out of the water, went over this tree, made an impression, and then the next step was into the grass, and then was into the grass, and then into the hardwoods, and then it's gone. So, so we cast this track, and that was really cool because Dr. Meldrum at least puts it in the realm of a good possibility. It has potential. So I'm good.
That's really cool.
I'm good with
That's
that.
really cool.
That's worthwhile of your time, and he's not saying this is definitive, but guys, it's pretty good. Keep up the work. Let's keep going. So that's what we do. We just keep going with it. Good, bad, or indifferent. That's the cast we were given. That's what was left. That's what we cast. And that's how we got that cast. As simple as that. And so when we go back, I was telling you about this. The Berkshire Eagle did a newspaper article on us recently.
Yeah.
We're going to go back in the fall, and we're going to have Wojo and Richie Burrell and Steve Wogolovitz. Sorry, Wojo. And we're going to go back and we're going to redo this cast experience and take the reporters on a Bigfoot night, and we're going to go out with them and do a Bigfoot experience.
That's
So
cool.
that's going to be a lot of fun with the Berkshire Eagle.
Nice.
So you heard it first here. I'm hoping it continues to go. I hope he has, the interest. The reporter was really cool. There's an article now on the Berkshire Eagle. You can go read it.
Nice.
I
I'll have
don't
to
know
do that.
remember the title, but they show Eric. It's my living room with a whole bunch of casts. We have a gun case, big gun case, and it's filled with foam and all these casts, so we can bring them to libraries and shows and stuff like that.
That's cool, man.
So we're gonna end up going to October Mountain with Richie B, Wojo, and the paper to do another, like a part B from the library show we're doing on the 19th. The library show will be at Dalton, Mass. Anybody's out there at Dalton, March 19th, come on down to the public library. We've done. Eric's got the numbers. He's organized. We've more than a dozen, probably 15 libraries, a couple festivals. We're going to more festivals. We're booking into 26. People are going to be down. I'll let them announce it. I'm not going to announce it.
Mm-hmm.
But we're and for us, it's not about the whole going out to festivals and doing this. Whatever money that was made is going to go back into the youth event, youth out there.
I like that.
We're looking for stories, and that's the whole premise of this. We're a vehicle. Now you've heard it. Now you don't have to be so bashful about telling it, because I already got up here and stood in front of you and embarrassed myself. Now you can come over and tell me your story. It's okay and it's safe. I'm not going to call you an idiot. I'm not going to say you're a liar. I'm going to say, dude, yeah, I want to hear this, because it probably happened to me. Something like that. Most of the experiential components to Bigfoot, whoops, yells, whistles, things like that, we've experienced. So that in itself is really cool. Other like Ron Moorhead, with the Sierra Sounds. My God, to witness something like that, dude, that'd be insane. Having said that, my buddy Richie B and Dave were up in Dave McCullough up. I just say Boston. It was up near the Devil's Triangle, Bermuda Triangle. Holy crap, Bridgewater Triangle, the Bridgewater Triangle. That's where he lives. That's where they go investigating the Bridgewater. It's all the same. There's some weird shit going on. Sorry,
I've been out there. I've been out there too.
Yeah,
Doing investigation.
Richie B's up there, and he's up there with Dave,
Mm-hmm.
and through their story, and you're more than welcome to bring them on, and let them tell their side. To my knowledge, they had experienced Sierra talks or the Sierra sounds right there. The whole.
Oh wow!
You know what it sounds like?
Yeah.
The whole chatter stuff. And they believe they witnessed that right there in the Bridgewater Triangle. And two great people, two stand-up guys in the community, and that's what they heard. The jaws drop. Dave's been around. He's been doing this stuff a lot longer. That Dave he's our keynote speaker, Dave McCullough, at the festival. He's been an inspiration. The guy, he's like an encyclopedia of accounts and stories and
I
dates
love those
and
kinds
things.
of people.
He's well versed. And he's a great discussion. Another guy to have on your show. Another guy, great. And he does a lot of paracons and things like that. He's been around.
Okay.
He may be doing something in Maine. Maybe the Maine Paracon, something like there. Maybe.
Yeah, I think
Anyways,
there's
Dave
a few going on.
He deserves to be a rock star. His name should be out there more. He's been doing it a long time. He's great, and we're glad to have him. He's a good friend as well. So he's got some good stuff, and he'll be talking at our show.
Well, I can't wait to first of all meet you in person and check out your festival and all the cool speakers that you have, because I went through the list and you have some pretty interesting people out there. But
can I go through it? We have Richie B and Wojo.
Yeah.
We have Josh Adia with the Animal Podcast. Fantastic. Jessica Carlozzi, and she has a podcast, the Cryptid Tidbits, I believe.
Close.
Is that what it is?
I have her sticker right here. Cryptid bits with general tidbits.
You got it. I was in there. Thank you. I appreciate the help.
Yep.
And then, so we've got Mike Trainer out of this whole festival is geared around New England investigators and the New England story. So all these names are pulled out of New England. Like I said, Richie, Steve. We've got Mike Trainer coming out of Rhode Island. Mike Young coming out of Connecticut. Eric and I may or may not speak. It depends. We're pretty full on speakers. We might be just picking up trash. Stuff like that throughout the day, parking cars. I don't know. We'll be busy, I'm sure. And then let's see, Richie B. We've got Ernie Davro. Ernie Davro, the same guy I was just telling you about, who had the experience in Granville on Drake Mountain. Incredible story. He's going to be here. An amazing story. God, I can't wait to meet him. So that's going to be really cool. Then we've got who else do we got? Am I missing? I believe that was it. I'm probably forgetting somebody. Somebody will smack me in the head. But yeah. So that's who we've got. Oh, I'm sorry, Matt Monet's. He's a big UFO guy.
Oh yeah,
Another Massachusetts guy, Matt Monet's. He's going to be out here. So that's our lineup. I believe it's 10 people or so. And you're not out of the running yet. So you may end up coming down just because Eric and I aren't going to have our stream. So that may be an invite anyway. No worries. It'll turn out to be a podcast fest with all the podcasts. There'll be you guys brawling out there with get it. So
I'm pretty good at winging.
That's good. And that's the fun of it. It's going to have a bunch of, like-minded people doing a whole bunch of fun stuff. The speakers are all great. They all bring something. Oh, wow. Jean Tewksbury. Good Lord, I forgot her. Jean she's coming out of Maine. And she worked with Lauren Coleman at the Cryptozoology Museum. So she's
I know.
Cryptozoology.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was just on the Animal Planet. The Animal Planet. He's out there. Animal Podcast. Yeah, Josh's show. Jessica was there, and Jean, and she was just on there the other night. And she is dialed in. She's got another one you got to have on. Fantastic speakers, and these are I don't want to say these are people that they're you and me. They're regular folks, got regular jobs. This is a fun hobby that we've gone over down the rabbit hole into the deep end, and we're researching, and we're coming up with cumulative results and things like that. And now we want to be able to share that, and there's not a real vehicle to do that. So this festival is a vehicle for researchers in New England to come and share what they're doing, and for people in New England to come to the festival and hear what's going on. Well, we have New England covered for speakers.
Yeah, you do.
And Maine would be Gene. Just had I don't want to throw out another guy from Pennsylvania, Bigfoot group. When he's confirmed, he's looking for time, see if he can come up. He'll be up here. So it's not just for New England. New England investigators and researchers are the focus, but we're branching out to everybody. Inevitably, like all these other groups, we want to organize data. We want to get a group called, we've got a number of groups out there. Boots on the Ground is putting out a database where they're going to be collecting reports, and they're going to open their umbrella to a bigger scope of people instead of this small group that we have now. It's only small because we're a small new group, really relatively new, but we've hit some tremendous strides, and the growth within that year is pretty phenomenal. And it's all 100%. It's all roots up. It's pretty cool how it's going. So that's where we're at.
That's awesome. I love festivals and conferences. Honestly, it's a good avenue to meet people and to talk to people about this stuff, like you were saying, and it's a good way for me personally to try and talk to people about coming on the show and sharing their experiences, just so I can um, talk to people and like act like sit down here like we are now and like get really into their stories, because when you're like meeting the people face to face at a conference, it's kind of like a surface level story, but when you're actually like sitting down with people, you
Yeah,
get pretty deep into it. And
deeper.
I love
And
all of this weird 14 field stuff, and I mean, it's the reason why I started the podcast to begin with, is but if you don't mind letting everybody know the date, time, and location of the festival real quick.
Sure. Before I do that, I gotta mention the New Hampshire Bigfoot guys with Mike Tinsley and Kelly up there in New Hampshire. They'll be down as well,
Oh, nice.
representing New Hampshire, their Bigfoot research out there. So they'll be here as well. I forgot about them. There's a lot of names. And so, anyways, the Cobble Mountain Critter Festival is June 7th in Russell, Massachusetts. It's an all-day event. There's camping available. You can come in on Friday night or stay till Sunday camping. The festival day event is Saturday. If you're a vendor, you can come in early on Friday night or set up, and then you're there for Saturday. No have to travel. We're in the country. We're out there. Russell's not really close to anything. You're about 20 minutes to a half hour away from like a Walmart or something like that. For something, if you forgot something in town and you wanted to go somewhere in town, there's a gas station or Cumberland Farms and a place to eat, something like that. That's about it. There's not cats food at all. So anyway, it's in Russell, Mass, June 7th. It's a full weekend of camping, full Saturday of speakers. It's Bigfoot, paranormal, UFOs, the whole gauntlet. T-shirt vendors and people handing out their wares and selling their wares. Literally, vendors. We're still looking for vendors. Anybody wants to come out, we are not fussy. If you got stuff you're going to sell, bring it out. Spaces for our spaces. It's an outdoor festival. It's 10 by 20 spaces. That's the starter. And we've got so much acreage. Like I said, 1,300. A bigger space it's not a real big deal. And a $50 fee for the weekend. And that'll include a night for the vendor if they're going to camp out. So you got, parking. It's at a Boy Scout camp on a field. So if it's in June, muddy fields, I have to pay for renovation on muddy fields, things like that. So there's a $20 parking fee. And then there's a couple of sales going on right now. If you buy the tickets now on Eventbrite, just go on Cobble Mountain Critter Festival, click the link, and you can find the tickets. You go to the tickets, it's through Eventbrite, and you go to where the tickets are. You scroll through the tickets. If you're a vendor, you can buy your ticket for your vendor right there. Real easy. You have to get the application from Eric before you're accepted. Otherwise, that's a donation, I guess. You need the application before the vendor, so do your homework. It's not that much homework. You just need the application first. And whenever we advertise it, we always say get the application and then go to the website. And then it's $50 or $55 for a vendor for the day because they're spending the overnight parking. So that's a pretty good package deal. So it's pretty cheap. I think general admission was $15 for kids 12 and older, 15 and older, and adults were at this point 18, but it's going to go to 20, I believe. 25.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's not too bad right now. The discounts is pretty good. I think it was 25 for entry and 15 for the kids, something like that. I'm probably wrong, but anyways, it's not bad. It's cheap. It's family friendly. It's affordable.
Cool.
And everybody should come and check it out.
I agree.
Everybody
I
should.
agree. I think they should. Anybody and everybody in that's close enough for
Yeah.
traveling definitely should check it out. The speakers alone.
And tickets are
Um,
only online.
yeah.
You can't drive up unless you got internet service, and that's kind of spotty here in the woods. If you get it and you don't have your ticket, you need to get the ticket before you come, and you need to be able to present it either electronically or print it out, and that's how you're going to make it to the parking lot. Well, it's a camp. I have an entrance to come in. We'll check you there. You'll have all your stuff, your ticket, your e-ticket, whatever you got, and then through the parking lot you got. Once you're through us, you can enter the property, and you'll go to your campsite. You can set up. You can do whatever you need. And then we're at campfires on Friday night, Saturday night. People will leave on Sunday. It's kind of like it's just gonna be a fun free for all Bigfoot festival. Bigfoot calling contests during the day, prizes, door prizes, things like that. So it's our first one. We're new at it. We hope we get a decent showing. And if we do, we're going to continue it because I'm the ranger at the camp. Next year, we'll go for a 3 or 4 day festival. And we're going to work it where we have more music involved, actual festival, big time
Yeah.
event, some money involved on our investment end.
Yeah.
And that's, only if we see that go in that direction. We want to go in that direction. We want to grow. I'll throw it out there for the guy down, Dave, drawing his last name. Dave, he runs the West Virginia Bigfoot Museum. He's got the West Virginia Bigfoot Festival. He started off a number of years ago, a handful of people. I probably don't have his numbers right, but probably 1,500 people. A number of years later, he's looking at 30, 40,000 people.
Wow.
He'll have the biggest outdoor festival in the country, potentially. He's done an amazing job. He gives all the glory to God. And that's why he does such a good job. He's a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got an amazing festival. Look it up, the West Virginia Bigfoot Festival. He's got all kinds of speakers coming, all kinds of speakers. So there's a lot of time, money, and energy in his festival. So me in my little festival and the event that I'm putting on, I can't imagine his headache. It's really an amazing experience that you have to go through. And it's a lot of work, a lot of sleepless nights, worrying about bills and rain and parking and people getting stuck and, stuff, just stuff.
I hear you.
I've been to festivals where it's been outstanding and then you get rain and it's not so outstanding. So, for us as the host, it's very nerve wracking. So you can't do anything but put your good hands in put everything faith in the Lord and hope for the best. And maybe it'll be great. We'll see.
We will see.
So that's the Cobble Mountain Critter Festival.
All
and
right.
like I said, all proceeds for that, except for the expense to keep some things running for the festival. That's all going, sending kids to camp, planting trees, conservation projects,
Awesome.
small conservation. We're not making millions. Our goal this year is to make between $10,000, maybe $20,000. If we can make 10,000, I'd be wicked happy. Heck, if I made 3,000, I'd be wicked happy. But 10,000 is our goal. 20,000 is the wish limit. And so we're going to push for it. That's if we can make 20 grand, it's not coming to my pocketbook. We're going to put kids in the camp. You know how many kids that'll send to camp next year? And then we're talking kids that are going to be like, I'll throw the one out. They don't even know we're going to approach them yet, but like people like the Salvation Army, people that really are never going to have an opportunity to ever go to a summer camp just because of financial situations.
Right.
Not because of location, just because of situations. Just can't afford it. Simple as that. Just can't afford it. It's not in their plans. And that's in a lot of ways, in a lot of walks of life. But the Salvation Army kind of grabs a hold of my heart a little bit. I like to give them some. So if we do well, the philanthropic community will be able to deliver that,
Nice.
in many different ways,
Nice.
including in the school, things like that.
I like
So
that.
it for us, it's a lot of fun. For people thinking, oh, you're just out, exploiting Bigfoot. No, dude, get real. We've been investigators and researching, I say 2 decades, really it's 14, 15 years, 13, 14 years, somewhere in there, where it was focused. And we simply come back and share our stories. The people want to hear the stories. We go to these libraries that are, I say, sold out. They're booked out. They're registered. You have to register for most of these, and they're full. Some of these are booking up and adding another date. Some of them are. So it's been nothing but a positive thing for us.
That's
Really
awesome,
cool.
man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you guys do really well. But if you don't mind, I will actually I'm gonna go find all your links and I'll put them in the show description and everything for everybody to check out if they're interested and they're in the area.
Yep.
And other than that, man, I just want to say thank you for taking the time for doing this. It means a lot to me. I really appreciate it. You know, time is our greatest currency, and the fact that you chose to spend this hour and a half with talking Bigfoot and such with me,
That's
it
our thing.
means the world to me. So thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. I'm honored and privileged and happy to be here as well. To have a voice and a way to get it out there. It's all about the research, really. It's really
Absolutely.
about the research, and for us, it's just fun.
Mm-hmm.
We've been around long enough to see the ups and downs and the crap and the good times, and we've been a part of the crap and we've been a part of the good times. And it's the Cobble Mountain Critter Project, and we're myopic and we're focused, and we want to have fun with it, and we want to see where it goes. So the peripheral bull doesn't matter to us. It just doesn't matter. We're focused, and we've got some really good friends along the way that are helping to take us to somebody like you that's willing to get our word out, and it's much appreciated. That means a lot as well. And as I said, I've got a lot of names that I dropped. Every one of these speakers that I've talked about are well worthy of being on your show. You will have, there's a dozen people right there. You can plan a couple of months ahead, and they
Nice.
all have a fantastic story. They all have a fantastic story, and it's deep. It's not just fill in airtime. They've got some. It goes deep. They've got time and tenure and experience. It's pretty cool.
Nice. I'll have to reach out to them. But for the listeners, if they're interested in following you on any of the platforms, where can they find you at?
You can find us on Facebook, the Vogel Brothers. It's an easy find, and you'll find our logo up there, the Vogel Brothers, and it's got a Bigfoot walking in it. And then you can find the Cobble Mountain Critter Project on Facebook as well. The Cobble Mountain Critter Project.org is our website. And the website, you can dance around through that. You find out about us, what we do, the festival. There's a link to buy the tickets in the website. That's a great resource, Cobble Mountain Critter Project.org. And Eric's got some Instagram and some other wacky stuff that I don't know about. I'm not the techie, and Eric's barely a techie, but he's trying. So God bless him. We try. Hey, I was able to connect to this link and get here tonight, so that was a big plus for us. So the Vogel Brothers on Facebook, the Cobble Mountain Critter Project, that'll get you to everything you need. And of course, if you can make the Cobble Mountain Critter Festival, that'd be great. You want to be a vendor, contact the Vogel Brothers, and we'll get you in the right direction. You want to be a sponsor, you want to donate, that'd be great. Donations come in a lot of different ways: T-shirts, vendors, raffle objects, things like that. Time, things, just whatever you want to donate. We'll get a hold of us, and we'll let's talk Bigfoot.
Cool beans. All right. All right, guys. So that's the show. Thanks to Tim again for coming on. If you like today's episode, please like, follow, share, subscribe. Go follow Tim and his brother Eric. And
Cobble Mountain.
I love that. That's a huge foot. But yeah, if please leave a rating and review. If your podcatcher doesn't allow you to leave a review, you can leave one on the website where the weird ones are podcast.com. That is also where you can get the merch, like this sweater, this hat, and the t-shirt that's behind me. There's also a ton of other designs, so it's not just this logo. There's some Bigfoot designs, there's some ghost designs, there's a whole bunch of stuff. Hot sauce, coffee, and supplements out there too. The blog is I started writing the blog again, so I think that's it. And you guys all know the drill. Question everything and stay weird.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.
Because in the end, none of us have very long on this earth. Life is fleeting. And if you're ever distressed, cast your eyes to the summer sky, when the stars are strung across the velvety night, and when a shooting star streaks through the blackness, turning night into day. Make a wish.